You're listening to the No BS Bishop podcast, hosted by Bishop Randy Dean. This podcast is alive to love, and all lesser values are potential BS. Now here's your host, Bishop Randy Dean.
Welcome to you all, beautiful people, one and all. Thanks for coming back here again to this episode of the No BS Bishop. I'm alive to love. I believe lesser values than love easily slide into the rabbit hole, the dark cave of BS, as in bait and switch. You can use BS for any way you choose, but for the purposes of this broadcast, it's about baiting and switching. Baiting people in with some talk of some religious doctrine or thought or practice, and then switching over to some more mean-spiritedness that has nothing to do with real love, because it really needs to be understood. All religion is founded in some form of love, and if it ain't love, it ain't spirituality. If it ain't love, it's false. Jesus said, "By this you will be known as my disciples, if you love one another." That's it. It's not about your belief systems. It's not about who you're fighting against. It's not about your political stances. It's not about who's right and who's wrong. Sit down, shut up. Let me tell you how good I am and bad you are. No, it's about love, ladies and gentlemen. And that's why I'm here week in and week out for this radio broadcast and the podcast, No BS Bishop. I'm alive to love. All lesser values are potential BS. So, we start off our time together with Love's Creed, and then I follow it with the Lord's Prayer, because I need the settledness of those beginning points, and I trust that some of you need it as well. All right? Love's Creed, a little something I wrote. I've edited over the past decade or so, and I offer it to you in any shape, matter, or form you'd like it. Send me an email at randydeanministries@gmail.com. I'll get you a copy of Love's Creed. All right? Here it is in total. Then I'll go back, and I'll ask you to just repeat after me like a vow at a wedding altar. Love's Creed. Here we go. I'm alive to love. I am not on this earth for hate. I'm alive for love. I'm not breathing, eating, and sleeping to regain energy for causing pain. I am alive with plans, and dreams, and designs, locked into anything and everything that is love. I am unavailable for anything less than love. Okay? If you'd like to join me in it, repeat after me. Here we go. I'm alive to love. I am not on this earth for hate. I'm alive for love. I'm not breathing, eating, and sleeping to regain energy for causing pain. I am alive with plans, dreams, and designs, locked into anything and everything that is love. I am unavailable for anything less than love. All right? There you have it. If you'd like a copy of that, you can send me an email at randydeanministries@gmail.com. That's Randy Dean Ministries, all one word, all lowercase, at Gmail. Be my pleasure to send you a copy of that. All right, to the Lord's Prayer, the most prayed prayer in all of human history, a solid structure by which we can live our life, have a contemplative, meditative way of looking at the world around us. And if you don't know how to pray, here's a prayer. Jesus gave it, and he taught us to say these words. If you know it, join me. If you don't know it, just listen in and savor these words. Here we go. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. Oh, I need that. I'm telling you the truth. I'm not BSing you. I need that on a regular basis every day of my life. So, on to the subject du jour for us today. I've got my heart full of some ideas and thoughts, but the basic thought for today starts this way. And this may not be speaking to everybody listening, but if you're a church folk, and that's how I relate to people who are pew dwellers, P-E-W, pew dwellers. I've been a pew dweller most of my life, but listen to this carefully. I have high respect for the capital C church, which is the church Jesus is building. Not so much as much respect, I'm saying this carefully, for the small c church, the organizational, incorporated church, the brick and mortar that's raising budgets and promoting doctrines and pushing people to the margins. That small c church is not what Jesus came to build. That's my own view of the thing. I think there's a whole lot of BS in the small c church where we bait people in and then we switch over to our real agenda, which isn't always as much love as it could or should be. So when I use the word or the term church folks, I use it as a collective. I mean it with kindness, and yes, I mean it with love, because I've been a church folk most of my life. But here's a proposition. What if church folks simply fell in love with all humanity? Small pause. All humanity. What if we jettisoned shaming values, slogans, cliches, political obsessions, and then we just simply channeled all that wasted energy into real, practical, genuinely human love? Non-combative and tender love. Yeah? It's almost like it was always supposed to be that simple, right? Because it always was supposed to be that simple. Now, there's a lot of complexities that can come out of church theological iterations and doctrinal statements and hewing all of that down. I know. I went through college. I've spent 50 years studying. I know the basics of theology as well, I think, as anybody who's supposed to be a pastor or a bishop. I'm not a high theologian, but I have at least I've got a GED in theology. Let's put it that way. But to that end, I while I've read the Bible cover to cover multiple times, and while I've led churches from Wisconsin to Ohio to Texas, I am convinced that the basic problem, the basic challenge, the basic walk of any church should always have been about love. What does love demand and command of us as church folks? What if church folks just simply fell in love with all humanity? Stop being so busy shaming and blaming other groups and people being right and wrong. We're right, you're wrong. Shut up, sit down, let us talk. No, that has never solved anything. It's never healed anybody. It's never raised the level of the dignity of humanity. In fact, it's diminished humanity's dignity when we fall off of that beautiful pinnacle of love. What if we church folks, hear what I said there, we church folks simply fell in love with all humanity? And I understand, I get it, that there are folks in humanity that are not always as right as we think they ought to be. There are folks that practice evil things. There are folks that practice painful things. I get it. I've been on the receiving end of some of that stuff. But I'm here to tell you that love is enough. Love that encompasses a divine genius, a strategy for living with people. See, it's about ultimately living with people on a level that's productive and manageable and uplifting and settling and healing. Jesus told his disciples, go out and heal the sick. Unfortunately, we do a whole lot more diagnosing the sick rather than healing the sick. I don't go to a doctor for them to tell me the diagnosis and send me back out to the parking lot. I want more than a diagnosis. I want healing from when I go to the doctor. So what happens is we just simply don't understand. Love is enough. And it is a divine genius strategy for living with people. Because when we love the unlovable, well, at that moment we have risen to the majesty of God. That's God. God loves the unlovable. I've been one of those unlovable people, seeking to make sure my little balled up fist is waving in God's face as much as I know how. Tell the world how to live, and even tell God what God should do to be more God. And I've been unlovable, but God loved me, and that's the majesty of God. I know what it's like to be rejected, and so does God. Rejected for love. Cursed. All the while, God is blessing with love. So being rejected or cursed, all the while we love, is a furious beauty because it rises to the majesty of God's love. Spit on love? Well, that's what happened to Jesus. He was spit upon. Chunks of his beard pulled out by the roots. Spit upon love. Throw love to the ground. Well, there again, that's what happened with Jesus. And love, that is God's love, is strong enough to live on, yet wise enough to live large where it's welcomed, because love is enough. Hear that. Love is enough. It'll live on no matter if it's received or rejected, but it will live large where it's welcomed. Love is, I'm not unaware of how love can be faulted into the sickness of codependency. In fact, hi, I'm Randy. I'm a codependent. I'm in recovery from a sickness called codependency. I grew up in a home of drug addiction and mental health challenges enough to know that codependency becomes a survival mechanism, but then that survival mechanism becomes a destructive mechanism for my quality of life. So I know how love slides over into codependency, and all of my life, I have to work with that. I have to be aware of that. I have to stay in touch with my truest values of who I want to be as a human being. But the risk of love and codependency, it's worth it. I do know that when I'm genuinely loving, I have to learn how to live large where my love is welcomed. And some places my love is not welcome. And I wish I could tell you everywhere you love, it's always going to be welcome. No, it doesn't work like that. I had somebody ask me not many months ago, how come the love that I carried for my own brother, who was drug and alcohol person of addiction to drugs and alcohol, who succumbed to his own addictions at the age of 72, and 8 years ago, he died intentionally through overdose. Somebody asked me, said, well, how come your love wasn't enough to save him? and I paused a minute, swallowed deep, because that puts a lump in my throat, because my codependency rises and said, that's right, I should have saved him. But then I become the sick person in the process. I recognize that my love lives large where it's welcomed, and my love with my brother was ultimately not welcomed on this side of life and death. I know that he looks down on me now from heaven, and I believe that love is welcomed now. But it wasn't in this life. And it was a great pain. It was a great struggle. And And my forward motion through counseling, through 12-step recovery, my forward motion demanded of me to let my love live large where it's welcomed. When I say living large, I mean where I can offer counsel, I can offer ideas, there can be a give and take of thoughts and conversation. We can even debate if love is welcomed. But if love isn't welcomed, it's not a debate, it's just a full-on fist fight, metaphorically or even physically. When love is living in a place of welcome, then there's the opportunity even to sit in the same room and be quiet and let love manage what we can't speak of. And when the room fills with words, it's not filled with arrows and verbal daggers. It's when love is welcomed in a room where two people are in varying opinions. If love is in the room, well, then love can live large where it's welcomed, even if there's disagreement. And that's a challenging balance. It's a challenging foray into the human condition. I know how so many of you listening, when you hear what I'm talking about, that when I say love is enough, I know what it is to wonder about how is it enough? Well, I know from the multiple people over the years as a pastor that I've counseled, when a mom or a dad has a child who's running hard in rebellion and doubled up fist at mom and dad's love, I know all mom and dad can do, the only thing a mom can do, a dad can do, when there's that kind of divisiveness in a family structure, all they can do is hang on to love. Hang on tight. Don't give up your love, but certainly don't fall into the pit of codependency. Love is enough. It's a divine strategy for living with anybody. Remember what I said, to love an unlovable person is to learn how to live in the majesty of God. So when you're being rejected or even cursed and you can still love, that's a furious and glorious beauty. Love is wise enough to live large where it's welcome. I think that's how I want to carry the last few moments of this broadcast. Love is wise. Love is wise enough to live large where it's welcome. You know, even Jesus had to manage his relationships even with the closest disciples and just simply keep walking. When they were arguing with him or debating with him, they weren't necessarily being rebellious or angry. They were confused. They didn't know what to do with this larger than life human being and this larger than life love that was talking. People don't know what to do when love is that wise and that large. I know that in my various experiences as a pastor, I've just had to make sure that I'm staying on the healthy side of seeing who welcomes my love and who doesn't welcome my love. I've had to say of my experiences that when my love is welcomed, I know I've got a foothold, whether I see this person again for weeks, months, maybe even years or not. But if it's been at least some small way welcomed, love will come back full circle. Love never fails is what 1 Corinthians 13 says. Love never fails. It doesn't say love happens within a day or a week or a month or a year. It just says it never fails. And at the end of the whole process, the rest of 1 Corinthians 13 says love is patient. And patience, patience may take a whole lifetime. I know patience for me has been about when I knew that my brother was completely at odds with me, completely against me. I had to exercise my patience, and in my patience, I kept my mouth shut. You hear what I'm saying there? Because where love isn't welcomed, I've got to be wise enough to forbid my own mouth from shouting or fighting or debating or arguing, because that's not love. Love is an atmosphere. Love is an attitude. Love is a way of reshaping my inner world, reconfiguring how I'm going to manage the worst of my relationships. And I've got a few of those that are just not the best that I would like for them to be. And I've got to keep love cooking inside of my inner kitchen. And when I can smell the burn of something's been in the oven too long, I gotta back away and make sure that I am taking good care of my my soul, the oven that is called my soul, that I'm baking good bread that's worthy of the aroma, worthy of the taste when it's done. I don't want to beat that analogy to death, but I hope you can understand where I'm going there. See, I think spirituality in its most productive and wise shape, spirituality is love. God is love, love is God. He who dwells in love dwells in God. He who dwells in God dwells in love. There is no separation of God and love. So spirituality, whatever that looks like, whether it's in a cathedral with the glorious a cappella choir singing, or whether it's in the woods with bird song and the silence of leaves just gently moved by breezes. That spirituality is love. I've been in both places, and I can tell you I can contemplate and meditate and pray in both places equally, because love takes me there. Love is my highest meditation. Love is my highest song. Love is my highest prayer. And love can be my lowest moment when I say, I'm not giving in to hate. I'm not on this earth for hate. And it feels low because something in me wants to hate. It wants revenge. It wants to exact some kind of price for somebody's rejection. But love takes me low, and I mean low in the sense of humility, where I have to be so careful of my opinions, my ideas, my what I consider my great wisdom. Love keeps my mouth shut. When I'm in my own arrogance, in my own self-aggrandizement, my own self-exaltation, love keeps me in a very quiet spot. And when my wisdom is sought or asked for, it'll only be because love proved the safety of my wisdom. Because once again, here's my statement. Love is enough. It encompasses a divine genius strategy for living with people. Because when you love an unlovable person, you have joined the majesty of God. Whew. And where else do we want to be? That's spirituality. To live in the majesty of God. And the only path there is to be a lover. Okay, well, with those mouths full, I want to bring this in for a close today. I want to spend just a little extra time on the close today because it summarizes everything I've just said, this whole divine strategy of love. I believe this. To keep that divine strategy strong, I've got to be at peace. Physically, spiritually, mentally, and the first place there I said is physically, which requires good, healthy breathing. Not to be adrenalized in anger or rejection, but to breathe quietly. I want you to join me on the count of 3 to inhale the deepest breath that you can. Hold it for a few moments, long as you can, down against your belly, and then exhale very gently but clearly. 1, 2, 3. Inhale. Hold it. And exhale. Anger and rejection gets us breathing in short little bursts. But healthy breathing gives us the opportunity to love. You hear what I'm saying? I hope you do. The next exercise is perhaps you want to practice it looking in a mirror. This exercise is something I'm a bit infamous for because it makes, as understood, I do understand it makes some folks uncomfortable. But I'm inviting you to say the most magical, holy, beautiful words in the human language with eye contact and intentionality. Like I said, maybe start in the mirror and say those 3 holy words. I love you. It's rattling, I know. It can be weird, I know. It can be awkward, I know. But pushing past that rattling weirdness and making connections with those words, it's life-changing. It helps to develop better neural pathways in your brain. I'm a witness to that. Saying, I love you can even rescue your sanity. Perhaps with somebody who's at complete odds with you, and their rage may rise if you say, I love you. But then again, their heart may soften just a touch when you're brave enough to say, I love you. Well, Mother Teresa said, go into all the world today and love the people you meet. Let your presence light new light in the hearts of others. I'm just going to tell you, the biggest mistake we make is thinking we have more time for that exercise, according to Mother Teresa. But be present, be kind, love more, and love now. Don't wait for another time. Mother Teresa's wisdom is so pure and simple there. Just go into the world today. And who should I love? The people you meet. Everybody you see is a person who wants to know, how does love fit into my life? Let your presence light new light in the hearts of others, she said. And go back to the other quote, be kind, love more, love now. Wherever it is, whoever you meet, however raw or ragged that somebody you meet may seem to be, love them. Love them. By loving them, you rise to the genius strategy of God for living with people. That was the whole purpose of today. I know as I come in here for just the last 30 seconds, I know love has saved my life. I know love can and will save your life. And I don't mean falling in love, and I don't mean finding romantic love. It could be that, but I do mean love even if you're all alone. Even in loneliness, love creates a space for health. Don't cheat yourself of being a lover in this big rough and tumble life. All right, I got to go. I trust that you've received something today. I trust that something hit you where your heart needed to be hit and your brain needed to be recalibrated. I'm Bishop Randy Dean, and I love the words of Roy Rogers. Happy trails, y'all. Go out there, rise and shine. Do something beautiful. 'Cause ugly, oh, merciful heavens. Ugly has been done to death. God bless you, and peace.
And this has been the No BS Bishop podcast. We're on all major streaming platforms. Keep tuning on in. We'd love to have you join us.